Checking audio. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I can hear you, Dottie.
Checking audio. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Testing local recorder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Open session from closed session. Could I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Waller,
Present.
Councilmember Castle,
Here.
Councilmember Kaladerovich. Here. Councilmember Obaji. Here. Councilmember Barrett.
Here.
Mayor Light.
Here. City Manager Witsansky, any announcements from closed session?
No reportable items this evening, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Could I get a motion to adjourn to the regular meeting of the City Council?
So moved. Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All for?
Aye.
Okay, I'm going to call to order the open session regular meeting of the City Council. Could I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Waller,
Present.
Councilmember Castle,
Here.
Councilmember Kaladerovich. Here. Councilmember Obaji.
Here.
Councilmember Barrett.
Here.
Mayor Light.
Here. Okay, let's see. We have no student to do the flag and invocation. But first, do we have any veterans or active duty military in the audience? If we do, please stand to be recognized for your service. Okay, looks like none tonight. With that, Councilmember Kaladerovich, would you mind leading us in?
Yes, I'd love to.
Okay, so I'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then please remain standing afterwards for a moment of silent invocation.
All right, place your right hand over your heart. Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and please remain standing for a moment of silent invocation. Okay, thank you. You may be seated. You want your picture taken with all that? You did a great job. Okay, going to item D, presentations, proclamations, announcements, and AB 1, 2, 3, 4 travel expense reports. I've got a few here. Let's see, we did the NRB bike path ribbon cutting. I'll let you speak to that more, Councilmember Obaji, but that was a great event. On Friday, I did get to attend the first model rocket launching at Redondo Union High School. So that was a fun event. Got to talk to the kids about having been on a launch team, what it's like to launch bigger rockets versus their little ones, but it was a fun event. We had a meeting with a few of us had a meeting with Cal Cities on the bill that Assembly Member Maritsuchi is sponsoring, in particular for us in regards to housing. I attended the quarterly roundtable luncheon, and we got to hear from our public safety folks, both the fire department and the police department. And on Sunday, attended the public safety open house, which was a great event, some great demos. I thank our first responders for putting that on for us. I enjoyed it. I know the residents who were in the audience, and especially the kids, really enjoyed it. And then we had a kite festival on Sunday that I don't know if the kite festival was the cause, but it was the most traffic I've seen in Redondo other than on July 4th. So lots of people on the beach. The beach I grew up in the East Coast, looked like going to New Jersey, the beaches in New Jersey, and seeing all the umbrellas and all that kind of stuff. So it was a good weekend for Redondo. With that, we'll just go down the wall here. Councilmember Waller.
Thank you, Mayor. I also was at the Cal Cities meeting the mayor mentioned and the roundtable presentations. Public safety open house was really wonderful. It was everything we could ever hope for this community. Families got up close with canine teams, learned fire extinguisher techniques, practice stop, drop, and roll, connected with officers and emergency responders who keep our city safe every day. Enormous thanks to the police department, the fire department, community services, the Red Cross, and all the other internal and external organizations that set up booths there. Note that the celebration of the World War II vet that we talked about last week was featured on NBC Nightly News as part of their Good News Tonight segment. That was a national news notification for Redondo Beach, showing that our city has real remarkable people. Coming up, there will be a free rabies vaccination clinic for dogs and cats at the dog park Saturday, March 14th, 4 to 5:30 p.m. The Nike Invitational Track Meet will be at Redondo Union High School Friday and Saturday. If you don't want to go to that, stay away because parking will be as bad as it was for the Kite Festival. Wilderness Park Lower Pond ribbon cutting is March 19th at 2 p.m. The Alta Vista Pickleball Courts ribbon cutting is Wednesday, March 18th at 1 p.m.
But they're open already.
But they're open and in use. And leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Castle.
I attended the public safety open house as well, which was a great event, as well as the Kite Festival, which again, in my, I guess almost 13 years here in Redondo Beach, I've never seen a crowd like that for the Kite Festival. It was great. Everyone had a great day and it was a perfect beach day. I also attended the Redondo Beach Roundtable Luncheon as well as the North Redondo Beach Bike Path Extension ribbon cutting as well. And then also last week, I attended the South Bay Friends Foundation Quick Pitch, which was the fundraiser where nonprofits competed for a $10,000 grant. And our very own Keep the Esplanade Beautiful was one of the participants in that, one of the finalists who got to present during the presentation. And although they didn't win the top prize, they did come away with a $500 donation for Keeping the Esplanade Beautiful, as well as their scholarship program. And also this weekend on Saturday is the St. Patrick's Day 5K down in the Riviera. So I'll be down there to cheer on all the runners on Saturday. That's all I have. Thank you.
You're stealing Councilmember.
How did I forget that?
Councilmember Kalajerovich.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to shout out our very own Lila O'Mara was given the Woman of the Year recognition by Supervisor Mitchell yesterday. It's no surprise the incredible work she does for our unhoused folks in the city. And it's also no surprise that she's been recognized by Assemblymember Maritsuchi for the same. And she deserves all of this and more. If you've ever...
That's our third Woman of the Year?
Yeah.
Second?
Second?
Okay. I thought there was a third in there.
Well, I'm sure there'll be another one. Yeah. If you've ever met her or interacted with her, she has a heart of gold. And we are so lucky to know her and that she's working here in our city. She's a big reason that we are still a functional zero city for homelessness in the county. In fact, we're the only city in the county that has that stat. And Lila, we are so proud of you. I know she's not here, but I'm going to make her watch that later. And big shout out to her.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Obaji.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. So yes, we were the host in District 4 of the ribbon cutting of the Redondo Beach Bike Path Extension. I want to do a big shout out to our Public Works Department, Andy Wingy leading that department, our city manager. Besides getting, so SCE approved this plan on the, if you can light up 2B, please, Madam Clerk, I'd appreciate it. Besides approving this bike path extension on SCE's property in December of 2020, this project was completed in just 1 year. And prior to, this is another kudos, and prior to obviously starting construction, our Public Works Department achieved the grant, applied for and achieved the grant funding entirely of this project from Measure M dollars from Metro through the COG. So thank you to our stellar Public Works Department, the engineers there, and all the staff who made this possible. District 4 is shining because if you go down to Grant Avenue, you'll see, and thank you to the council for approving this funding, you'll see that the brand new fence along Grant Avenue has been put in place almost entirely. There's still some spots where they're still adding it on. You can see today, crews are at work putting it up, and there's still more fencing to go along where the cemetery is coming into place. So thank you. Things are shining in District 4 North Redondo. That's all, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Barrett.
Just a reminder, Mayor, that Councilmember Obaji and I are going to be hosting the community event on Wednesday, April 1st. It is part 2 of the Pillars of Public Safety series. We are going to have the Redondo Beach Fire Department. It should be a great event. They're going to be well represented, laying out really their view and vision and operational posture for the fire department writ large, as well as in our North Redondo neighborhoods. And everyone is invited. It's Wednesday, April 1st, 6 p.m. at the Redondo Beach Performing Arts Center, and refreshments will be served.
Okay. Chief, who was the recruit that demoed the car and climbed up the ladder on Sunday? You don't have to come all the way up.
Yeah.
He's one of our new hire firefighter employees. His name is Robert Buckley.
Buckley?
Robert Buckley to climb the ladder into the
Robert Buckley.
Okay. I just want to give a shout out to Robert Buckley, because if you were there at the end, he had the jaws of life, and I don't know what you call the scissors thing, but those are 40 pounds, and he held that up and had to cut apart the whole car in front of us, the audience, for his first time. Then they made him get up and climb the 100-foot ladder on the ladder truck. So a lot of pressure for his first day as a new recruit. So shout out. Okay, let's see, item E, approving the order of the agenda. Could I get a motion to approve the order of the agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion to second, all for?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. We'll be following the agenda as printed. Blue folder items. Do we have any blue folder items tonight?
Yes, we do. For item J1, public participation on non-agenda items, we have public communications. For item N1, regarding joining the South Bay Regional Housing Trust and their Board of Directors, we have public communications. And for item N2, regarding the Beach City's transit youth ridership and improvements, we have public communications. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Could I get a motion to receive and file the blue folder items?
Receive and file?
Second.
Okay, motion to second, all for?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Let's see, jumping down to item H, consent calendar. There's 7 items on the consent calendar. Does any member of the council wish to pull any of them?
No.
Okay, no. Could I get a motion to approve all 7 items on the consent calendar?
Move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to second. Before we vote, does any member of the public wish to speak on items H1 through H7? Looks like no one in the audience. Anyone online?
There is no one on Zoom, and we have no e-comments.
Okay, anything you need to read tonight?
We have nothing to read tonight.
Okay, great. Okay, jumping to item J. This is public participation on non-agenda items.
Did we vote?
We need to vote on.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Thank you. Before we jump to item J, we have a motion on the floor to approve the entirety of the consent calendar. So all for? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. I asked, should you read too early? Thanks for keeping me in line. Item J, public participation on non-agenda items. This section is intended to provide members of the public with the opportunity to comment on any subject that does not appear on this agenda for action. This agenda item will be limited to 30 minutes. Each speaker will be afforded 3 minutes to address the mayor and council, and each speaker will be permitted to speak only once. Written requests will be honored first, and we do have some written requests tonight. So first is Lisa Happy Cates, and then Ron Morocco.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor White, City Council. My name is Lisa Hape-Cates, and I am president of Keep the Esplanade Beautiful. I want to say first that my mom up in Rockland saw the NBC show about the vet, and she immediately said, "Oh my God, Redondo Beach is on the national news." So I thought that was pretty cool. Thank you for whoever mentioned that. And thank you, Chad, for mentioning and attending and supporting KEB at the pitch. I wasn't able to attend, but it was pretty cool. I just wanted to report to you about our sweep last Saturday. The beauty of Redondo Beach is becoming more appreciated through Keep the Esplanade Beautiful. Last Saturday, we had several various groups represented. We had a huge dance group. We had artistry, several others, and Redondo Beach Unified School District attended as well, with Superintendent Dr. Nikki Wesley, as well as the Executive Director of Student Services and several other supervisors and directors. We had over 60 attendees, and it was crazy. I had to send everybody off to different legs, so you probably saw some people cleaning up Trader Joe's and all the other parking lots. It was very cool. We collected a lot of trash. We got 23 pounds of trash. But more importantly, we got out to a lot of youth. We have more and more high school students coming and supporting this as they're hearing about our scholarship programs. Our regular Redondo Union High School student, Mitchell, is doing another Redondo Union High School TV video interviewing all of the RBUSD superintendent and so on. So that's going to get aired and sent out to Redondo Union High School. So we're making it known to keep our Esplanade beautiful, keep trash out of the streets, et cetera. Our South High student is also posting pictures on our Facebook and on our Instagram, so you can check that out. Just want to report the good news, and thank you for your time. Oh,
Thank you.
I forgot to tell you, I still have a minute left. I took a picture. I wanted to tell you what we collected. I didn't have glasses on. We collected 560, this is in 1 hour, so from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., 568 cigarette butts, 32 plastic bottles, 186 plastic spoons, 46 plastic bags, 40 glass bottles, 48 styrofoam, 11 aluminum cans, 608 miscellaneous things, and the oddest things we found were egg cartons, shoe, and an underwear. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ron Morocco, then Kathleen Fisher.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Ron Morocco, District 3. I'm going to try to plow through 4 items on this list. I've never been successful, but I'm going to try. March 19, 2025, 2026, you're having the Hopkins Wilderness Park ribbon cutting. It would be nice if you could also announce at that event that the city is consenting to have Wilderness Park designated as a historic landmark. It's been before you, and there's a great opportunity to do it. The second item is I threw out to you several months ago about having a park named after a former city councilman and a Marine, Joe Duiziak. I would love to see that move forward on it. I've come to you also as well before. July 4th is our 250th anniversary of our country. I'm hoping that something will come out of this council. If you need the public amenities to do something, we can do it. We have time. But one of the things that I really would like, and I've pitched it to several council people before, you have those banner standards on Artesia now. You have them in the Riviera area. Put pictures of the former people connected to Redondo that served in the military between Memorial Day and July 4th. Other cities do it. It's something that can be done. If you need funding, I can give you some ideas on that. The last thing is I attended last month a 3-hour program on building effective historical preservation ordinances. And in the spirit of that, I would like to propose a pathway to make our potential historical resources inventory more meaningful. I've talked with the city manager about how to make any historic survey more cost effective. And so I would like to pass out a sheet that describes
Motion
what
to receive and
can be
file.
done to make it.
All for it?
Aye.
And I did it with 50 seconds left. I don't have a list of great accomplishments of things to pick up, but I did watch the people on the Esplanade pick up the stuff, and they were pretty amazing because it was a really bad day to be out there in the sun. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Kathleen Fisher, and then Andre LaRue, which is our last card I have right now.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kathleen Fisher. Hi, Brad. I work with the Riviera Village Association. I have been providing marketing for them since 2018, social media, and I also coordinate the board of directors. And pretty much I'm just here to introduce myself. At our last board meeting, we decided to have a representative of the RVA attend a council meeting once a month just to give some updates, discuss some things that perhaps Riviera Village can work with the city to accomplish with the help of Brad. And basically that's it. As far as an update, the newest thing going on in the village is you have attended the Dine Around on Artesia. Well, we are using Robin Garfield Consultants to organize a Dine Around Riviera Village in early June. So we're working on that right now and getting participants all lined up. And that's it. Hi, Chadwick.
Hi, how are you?
Good to see you.
We have to do Dine
Thank
Around the
you.
Harbor.
Thanks.
Thank you. Let's see, Andre LaRue, and that's the last card I have.
Good evening, City Council members. 13 years ago, the city approved my landscaping plan, and I planted exactly the trees that the city authorized. Today, I'm facing misdemeanor criminal charges and potential jail time, not because the trees are unsafe, but because the city is stretching a vague ordinance that was never written for trees. To comply, I trimmed and removed branches. This is one of the branches of the tree. It took 5 weeks to dispose of this one branch. After the storms, the trees leafed out just like any healthy tree. Arborists refused to cut them down to 6 feet because doing so would kill them, leaving large dead stumps. Yes, despite the remediation, the city claimed it wasn't good enough. And because the law is so unclear, it depends entirely on one person, a subjective interpretation, arbitrary, and not anything written in the municipal code. The neighbor who originally called just wanted a light trim off the top. After learning the city wanted them cut down to 6 feet, he did not withdraw his complaint, but instead he wrote me a letter saying that he loves the trees. He wants to keep them. Today, every adjacent neighbor has put in writing that they want to keep the trees. They want to keep them because of shade, privacy, comfort, and sound insulation. And this ties to a larger issue. Redondo Beach has changed. Over the last 50 years, the city has approved dense development, and homes only are 10 feet apart. The 6-foot walls just provide no privacy for today's neighborhoods. People rely on trees because the city created the density. Yet the tree and landscaping laws have not been updated to match the reality of the city. The city itself approved, which is the density. At the same time, at least 6 new $2.8 million homes in my neighborhood were recently approved with the same style of trees. The city inspected, signed off on these trees, and in 6 to 8 years, they're going to have that same issue as I do. They're going to be asked to get them cut down. So I've got 5 seconds left. I started a website called Green Redondo. You guys have the power to make these changes.
Time's up. Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the council on non-agenda items? Anyone online?
We do not have any hands raised on Zoom. We do have one e-comment for J1.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's see, jumping straight down to item N1, discussion and possible action regarding joining the South Bay Regional Housing Trust. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Jane.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Jane Chung with the City Manager's Office. The item before you is a discussion regarding joining the South Bay Regional Housing Trust. Get right into the presentation. Presentation will include a brief overview of the Regional Housing Trust, or which I'll refer to as Trust, moving forward throughout the presentation. Provide some background, purpose, the governance structure, and membership framework. Summarize the pending legislation that seeks to expand the Trust authority and scope, along with an update on current participation among South Bay cities, and then conclude with staff's recommendations. So what brings us here tonight on February 3rd, 2026, the City Council directed staff to return with the South Bay Regional Housing Trust Joint Powers Agreement, or JPA, after considering and seeing what other potential member agencies had determined their interest in participating. As of this morning, actually, so an update to the staff report, 5 cities have signed the JPA and 3 additional cities have approved participation and are pending a signed agreement. So a quick recap of the background of what brings us here today. In 2024 of September, SCAG awarded the COG $570,000 in REAP 2.0 funds, which supported the feasibility study for forming a regional housing trust. The SBRHT, or the Housing Trust, would operate as the independent joint powers authority, which will support affordable housing projects supported by member cities. The purpose of the trust is to receive and leverage public and private funding for affordable housing projects, support development of the projects listed there, including workforce housing and permanent supportive housing. And it's really served a way to coordinate regional housing efforts without affecting local land use authority. I do want to kind of highlight what the trust does not have the authority to do. It cannot regulate zoning or development approvals, impose fees or taxes, require inclusionary zoning, or obligate cities to dedicate funding. It also cannot approve projects that the host city does not support. The trust will be governed by a board of directors made up of one elected official from each of the member agencies, and then 2 policy experts in the field of housing or homelessness, which will be appointed by the COG City Managers Committee. The term is 2 years, but there's no term limit. The board may do one of the following listed there: hire staff and consultants, apply for grants, and acquire and dispose of property for affordable housing. And then administrative services may be provided by a member agency who's part of the trust or the COG. Membership, cities join by signing the Joint Powers Authority, which is presented to you tonight. There is no immediate cost to join as of now, but future dues may be required if the board decides to pursue future dues. Cities may withdraw by adopting a resolution, paying outstanding administrative fees, and providing a 90-day notice. To note, the Joint Powers Authority or Joint Powers Agreement sunset if no administrative funding is secured by the end of the year. And then the agreement may also be terminated by a majority vote of member cities or agencies. The COG staff and their legal team is working with Senator Ben Allen's office on a potential legislative amendment, which will seek to address issues, identified during the feasibility process, such as board composition, leadership flexibility, and eligibility for moderate income housing. So once that draft legislation is ready, the COG will request letters of support from member agencies. So a quick update as of this morning. The 5 cities that have signed the JPA are listed there: El Segundo, Hawthorne, Inglewood, Lomita, and Rancho Palos Verdes. 3 additional cities have approved to join. They're just pending the final agreement signed: Lawndale, Manhattan Beach, and Torrance. To note, the COG has given the 16 cities of the larger kind of COG network until the end of this month to sign the agreement, submit the signed agreement, and designate a representative. And then the first board meeting is scheduled for April 23rd of this year. Something to note, the COG did circulate a revised agreement after our February 3rd meeting, which in that staff report, some concerns were raised by our city attorney's office and are still remain unresolved. However, given that 8 cities have approved the agreement, further revisions are not expected, and the agreement is presented as is for the city council's consideration.
Before we leave that slide, city attorney board, are any of these so egregious you'd recommend us not joining?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Therefore, staff recommends the following: that City Council approve the Joint Powers Agreement, and then as well select a representative to serve on the Housing Trust Board of Directors. That concludes my presentation. I'm available to answer any questions.
Okay, that was short and sweet. So I support the joining the Joint Powers Agreement, and if the council feels the same way, I'd also like to recommend we appoint Councilmember Kalajerovich as our representative. She's been involved in the other county organizations related to housing. I think it would be good to have that consistency across all those boards, but it's up to the rest of the council. So with that, any questions? Or I see Councilmember Obaji, you've got your hand up. So you've got the floor.
Thanks, Mayor. Totally agree. And we also just On the same note, John Murish of Beverly Hills, who is our representative to the La Casa Board representing the West Side and the South Bay COG, is going to term out of Beverly Hills. So the two COG areas are going to have to elect a new representative. And so I've nominated and asked Councilmember Kalajevic if she'd like to do that. So
Is that on topic? Can we do that here?
narrowly. All right. Well,
How
just
does
to
that
say-
relate? Just
Got
bring it in.
Back to this. So, and realizing that all of these boards might be a little too much for Councilmember Kalajevic, I'd support her being on this board until she has something else pulling her away, if that becomes the case. And then she asks to be relieved of this.
Is that too much burden or?
No, and so I've thought about this since we've talked. So just to give perspective, the Measure A sales tax in the county that brings in over $1 billion a year is split into two pieces. 40% of it is for this La Casa board that you were mentioning that Councilmember Marish from Beverly Hills is terming out of. That's 40% of it. The other 60% of it goes to homeless services, and I sit on the ECRA committee, which oversees that spending. And the housing trust, as it relates to this topic, is how we're going to use that money, the 40% for affordable housing, how it will be implemented in our region. So it is all connected, and I think after thinking about it, that bringing all the pieces and how they fit together, I would like to serve on it, because in the implementation stage, as they're building these rules of how we can use this money, it's important that we have a seat at the table. We understand how all these pieces fit together, because the county can create rules that make it difficult for us to use that money in the future. And this is the time when we need to advocate and push back as to how they use that money and where cities have a voice at the table. So that's what I said.
And I've heard good things that Councilmember Kalajevic has been very outspoken on these commissions advocating for our interests. So I'll make a motion to approve the joint powers agreement and select Councilmember Kalajevic to serve on the SBRHT Board of Directors.
Second. Who seconded?
Red.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, is that it?
That's it.
Okay, Councilmember Waller?
I would have made the motion, so I agree. I think it's imperative that we are an early member of this JPA. Once that JPA is formed, they can choose and they can say, oh, well, anybody else that comes on after us, you do have dues, or this is different. Some of the concerns that were raised by the city attorney can be addressed by members of the JPA, as long as they're members of the JPA. They're not going to be changing that JPA agreement based on input from outsiders as much as they would from input from board members. So I endorse Councilmember Kalajetovic's participation in this and Redondo Beaches.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Barron?
That was kind of my question as well. Councilmember Kalajevic is a great fit and highly capable. I was going to ask Brad Waller, who's on the COG, if he had an interest, being that there's such intertwined overlap between the two, and at least have an opportunity for a discussion if someone else was interested.
I'm happy for Councilmember Kalajevic to do it. If nobody else was interested, I would definitely do it, but.
Okay, all right.
And if I might just add, this is a 2-year, or the JPA is as we determine the person who's on the committee or on the board. I would say that I would welcome someone else stepping into that role once the rules have been in place and that it's formed and they're actually bringing forward projects and how that money gets spent. But I do see a value in me being there as they're developing those rules now.
Okay.
So no counter motion or substitute motion?
No, just raising the item I did just now for discussion on that issue.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kalajevic, oh, you just took your hand down?
That was all I said.
I think.
Do we need an alternate?
Not right now.
No, it's not required.
Should we designate an alternate in case for scheduling or otherwise you can't make it?
I'm not sure that's set to do that.
Does the JPA agreement allow for alternates?
I think
I
so.
don't remember.
You could set it, if it's required, there's no harm in having it identified now, so we have that as a backup.
Do you want to append your motion?
Yeah. Do you want to be the alternate? Sure. All right, so I'm append my motion to include Councilmember Waller as the alternate. Unless there was somebody else, Councilmember Castle, you wanted to do it, Councilmember Barrett?
Raise your hand.
All right, Councilmember Waller it is.
So you
I
agree with that
accept,
since you
yes.
seconded the motion?
I accept. I agree.
Okay.
Can I add a friendly amendment to the motion?
Friendly
Your
amendment to
motion.
the friendly amendment?
To authorize the mayor to sign a letter of support to Senator Allen's bill when it becomes appropriate, so that we don't have to have the discussion.
Oh, that's a good catch.
Yes.
I like that. I would-
So amended.
I would agree.
Okay. So the amended motion. Okay. Before I call the vote, does any member of the public wish to speak to this? Do we have any written cards on this one? Okay. Any member of the audience wish to address this item? Okay. Anyone online?
We have no hands raised on Zoom, and we do have one e-comment in support.
Okay, thank you. Okay. I'll call the vote then. All for?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, moving down to item N2, discussion and possible action regarding an analysis of Beach Cities Transit youth ridership and planned improvements. Who's leading us on this one? Director House, you have the floor.
Yes, I do. I apologize in advance for my voice. So most of this presentation will be done by my team. I'm getting over a little bit of a bug, but I will introduce the item. As you may recall, as part of the strategic plan, you asked our team to go ahead and evaluate ways that our transit system can best serve our teens and youth, things that we can improve, all limitations we may be working within, and to do, as part of that, some outreach to our teens and our youth in our community. So the team went ahead and did that over the past several months. So with me tonight to walk you through their research and what they propose to do to better serve the youth and teens of our community are our transit manager, Ty Gunn. And I want to introduce to all of you our latest addition to the transit team, our senior management analyst, Paige Meyer. So with that, I'll hand it over to Ty.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, great director, Elizabeth. Say good evening, Mayor Light and council and every staff member that here is present, those that's in-house, in the chambers, those that's online. Say we are here to present the Beach City Transit Youth Engagement and Ridership Improvement presentation. And on our agenda tonight, we're going to go over our current routes and some stops of interest to our youth riders, also with some constraints, explain some limitations that we had to consider during our evaluation, and also describe the different possibilities that were researched and go over the change that were made that we're planning to implement and other general improvements we've made to our services, and then close with our recommendation. So with our current routes, we have line 109 and line 102. And within this, line 109 operates the Riviera Village and the LAX Metro Station, which you might see the acronym MTC, serving the downtown areas of Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach, and the city of El Segundo. And line 102 operates between the Redondo Beach Pier and the Redondo Beach K-Line Station, serving our great Redondo Union High School and North Redondo. And on February 5th, we went to our great youth commission, did a phenomenal job. They're doing a phenomenal job. And we explained to them the current route destinations we currently have here that's up on the slides. And we asked them, say, what are the areas outside of these slides that all these different locations that we currently already serve? We asked them, what is it that our Beach City Transit can service other stops and be able to get them either close to or to the location outside of these areas that's up on the slide? And briefly, they gave us some ideas, and they voiced their opinions and very openly, and did a phenomenal job being part of the youth commission. They gave us some feedback, and we were able to dig in even more with some of the things that taking their opinions into consideration. And Redondo Union High School is BCT's most utilized stops, and the school trippers are operated as extensions of regular Line 102 services to accommodate peak travel periods. And with that, I will pass it over to our senior analyst, Paige.
Excuse me, thank you. We also took a look at the current state of youth ridership. So to do that, we analyzed the fare counts that are tracked manually by our bus drivers as people enter onto the bus. And we specifically looked at student bus pass holders. So that doesn't capture every student rider because it's only the ones who've purchased bus passes. Others may be riding, paying cash fare or tap cards. But that being said, student bus pass holders make up about 43% of our weekday ridership on Line 102. On the weekends, that declines dramatically, down to 3%. So students that have unlimited ride bus passes and are already comfortable taking the bus are choosing not to use transit for recreational purposes. So that's something that we took into consideration as we're looking to tackle that from a number of different angles. So we're working with a few different constraints during this analysis. First, our funding is allocated based on ridership. So BCT is funded through a combination of local, state, and federal transit-specific funding. BCT doesn't use any of the city's general fund money. The money that we are funded through those different funds are allocated based on the ridership data provided from the previous calendar year. Next, annual revenue service hours are fully allocated. So BCT operates under an agreement that limits our annual service hours to 42,000 hours per year, all of which are fully utilized by our existing 2 routes. Our bus fleet as well is a limitation that we have to keep in mind. Our fixed route service has a fleet of 14 buses, the majority of which are 32-foot buses, which does limit the maneuverability on certain streets in our city and limits the places that we can access safely. And finally, FTA restriction on shuttle service. The FTA is very strict that any agency that takes in federal transit money cannot act in any way that could compete with a private charter. So we have to stick to a fixed route model as we move forward. So because our resources are fully allocated, any new bus stops or service area expansions would require a proportionate reduction in our existing service. So expanding service hours beyond our current levels would require sustained ridership growth. Okay, so here are some of the route options that we evaluated. On the right, you'll see a map that shows the southern portion of both of our routes. Line 109 is in red and line 102 is in blue. The first 3 locations mentioned, we looked into what it would take to add service to the Teen Center, Adams Middle School, and Paris Middle School, really with the goal of connecting teens to the Teen Center. And so you'll see the Teen Center is the purple pin up at the top. And we found that a new stop wasn't necessary because our current route is already 0.2 miles from the building. It's just 1 block west on the corner of Ringe and Grant. So it's already very accessible. Adams Middle School, the gray pin up at the top, is too far from our current route path to be feasible within our current constraints that we're dealing with. Paris Middle School is close enough to the existing line 102 route path to be a potential new stop, and the streets can be maneuvered. Our operators actually went and drove the streets in a bus just to check the feasibility of that, and it would be an option to add that stop in the future. Unfortunately, right now, conflicting bell schedules with the high school and limited revenue service hours prevent implementation at this time because that stop would come after the high school and the middle school gets out 10 minutes earlier. So there would be a substantial wait time for the middle schoolers to get picked up. That being said, it's something that we're keeping in mind in the future as we're hoping to see ridership increases and therefore funding increases in the future. This will be one of our go-to options. I also wanted to mention that Youth Commission, one of the youth commissioners brought up an interest in having a stop on the south side of the high school right there on Vincent, near Paris as well, to be of service during football games, for example. And so that would also be logistically feasible if we were to have the hours available. And then to work within the constraints, we also looked at improving service to the high school, the Pier, and Riviera Village, which are 3 locations that our routes already service. And we were able to find a way to improve those locations, which we'll talk about on the next slide. Okay, so we are planning to implement a minor route adjustment. And just to note, the map on the right is what line 102 would look like post-implementation. So the goal it would be to swap the terminus of line 109 onto line 102. So the line 109 currently terminates at Riviera Village. So we would have it stop at the Redondo Beach Pier and move that southernmost portion over to the end of line 102. So the benefit there, specifically for youth riders, is that South Redondo will now be connected directly to Redondo Union High School, where previously they would have had to transfer and hop on the other line, which just isn't feasible for a distance that short to travel. And the North Redondo will then be directly connected to Riviera Village. So it would shorten line 109, which is already on the long side, and extend line 102, so it would now span the entire length of the city. Another benefit would be we would be shifting the transfer point. Currently, our 2 lines intersect up on Catalina at a bus stop, and this would be moving the transfer point to the roundabout at the pier. So it would be a more pleasant place for people to be waiting for their transfer. There's restrooms, a park, the pier, different amenities that are available there. So that's also a bonus. We consider this a minor route adjustment because less than 25% of either route are being affected. No bus stops are being removed, no new bus stops are being added, they're just being redistributed to the other line. So impacts to riders are expected to be minimal. We're aiming to implement this change in June of 2026, and to ensure that all riders are aware in advance of the change, notices will be posted to all affected bus stops at least 1 month prior to the change. We also plan to leverage the city's social media accounts to make sure that we're doing as much messaging as possible, updating brochures, putting ads in the local papers. And we also plan to return to Youth Commission to inform them specifically about how they will be affected by the change and how they can utilize the route to best serve their needs and connect them between North and South Redondo and the other beach cities using line 109.
So if you could go back, I'm a little confused. So that's what you show on the right is 102, and it's extending all the way down to Riviera Village and going down the loop by the pier, and that's the transfer point to 109?
Correct.
And then 109 goes from that loop north?
Yes, so it will be, the southernmost point will be the roundabout at the pier, and it will continue to its current north destination, which is the LAX Metro Station.
And you think that would improve ridership on both lines, or?
It would improve efficiency.
It seems to me more people would want to go from like Riviera Village to some of the other Manhattan and Hermosa than people wanting to go just from the pier to there. I'm not quite sure.
But you could transfer.
Well, they said that 40.
I know, but then you got to hop 2 buses to do that. And if we do this, do you on the way down west past the high school, do you drop kids that are trying to ride the bus to school off first and then go down and get the South Redondo kids and then go back to the high school and stop again?
I'm a little confused on that question.
Yeah, no, it goes on in a line. So the 102 would begin, I mean, it goes both directions. The school chippers will remain as they are, so we have special school chipper service that won't be altered at all.
Okay, I did not understand that. Okay.
And there's more than 1 bus.
Okay. I still question the utility of 109 if you're extending all that 102 and shortening that.
This plan was originally proposed in a transit study that was done a few years ago, but never implemented. It was found that not many riders utilized that portion of the 109 to travel onward.
Okay.
All right, Paige, thank you. Thank you for that information. So some other service improvements that we want to implement is, and we were working on, is what our on-time performance. So over the past 6 months, we've been in communications with our contractor, Transportation Concepts, and also with GMV Synchromatics as far as doing our on-time performance, making sure that we're able to capture, be able to read the services in real time. And then also, too, with our online tracking, this improves the ability to provide accurate online and app information, which allows people to be able to see exactly where the bus is as they're looking to catch BCT. And then also, too, with our school year passes that we implemented this year at the orientation day at the beginning of the school year at Redondo Union, we had in addition with our monthly passes that we sell, we had 9-month yearly passes that we sell. And parents seemed to see that was more accommodating to them instead of having to come and send their kids to City Hall each month to be able to buy, and then they would stuff their envelopes with, different payments. But now they have the option to be able to purchase it all at one time. So we will continue to do that moving forward, which was a great success.
And that was the $8 as a student pass for 9 months? Or is that a monthly?
No, it was addition of 9 months total for the whole year. So
$8 per month.
$8 per month.
Okay.
So all in one payment.
And no 12-month option, though.
A school year option.
Right, school year.
Yeah, 9 month. Yeah.
No demand for a 12-month pass.
No, but we'll look into it, though.
Maybe next year.
Yeah.
Once people get used to the 9-month pass.
Right. We'll definitely look into that, Council. Keep that in mind, make that a note. And then also with our social media, we took in consideration, once we met with the Youth Commission, of changing from X over to Instagram. And then by using this platform, we did make that change. And this also gives us the autonomy to be able to promote our safety service that we provide with BCT, and then any type of announcements as far as detours and any information that needs to go out in social media and outreach platforms, we use that. And then also, too, with our contactless fares, Metro is launching at the earliest. They haven't given a specific date yet. We have a meeting next week, but have the option to be able to, we already have TAP in place, but have the option to be able to pay via American Express, MasterCard, Visa, and then also they implemented 2 international banks that they can pay, where you can actually use your cell phone or your watch to pay once you get on to BCC Transit. So that launches as far as early spring. Hopefully they have a release date for that. And then also with our transition to smaller buses, this strategy is intended to support a more approachable and flexible transit system, particularly for youth and first-time riders. The current fixed route fleet consists of 12 32-foot buses and 2 25-foot cutaways. That does not reflect the small beach town character of BCT and the beach cities. And then under this new approach, we will add cutaways with our current fleet until increased ridership allows additional service to take place. And while full-size buses provide higher capacity, they are less maneuverable on narrow streets that can feel imposing to first-time riders. In contrast, cutaways buses are streets and could feel imposing to first-time riders. These smaller, usually carry about 15 to 25 passengers, are built on the truck chassis. These vehicles are made more agile on narrow streets and provide a more approachable vehicle or for community-friendly appearance. And say cutaways also cost significantly less, that's a tongue twister for me, than full-size buses, allowing BCT to acquire more vehicles and increase service flexibility.
Do we ever exceed the capacity of one of these cutaway buses?
We do.
We do.
And so we did want to specifically mention that our introduction of additional cutaways won't come at the expense of ridership. So we intend to keep enough full-size buses to accommodate our peak travel times and definitely our school trippers, because those are consistently staying full. So we want to make.
Insert the bigger buses when ridership dictates.
Exactly.
Okay, because we did get an email, on that.
Yes.
And it's in the blue folder, so I won't, okay, thank you for addressing that.
And we'll continually reassess ridership needs as we move forward. So it's going to be a gradual change as we shift over.
As we get new buses, are they more environmentally friendly? Are we getting electric or CNG or?
So all of our buses are CNG, and they will continue to be so. We do have a zero emission bus rollout plan that is established, but it's reliant on us building the infrastructure to be able to charge.
Right.
So technically 4 of our existing large buses are going to come to the end of their useful life before that infrastructure is built. So we're really only planning that procurement at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, to wrap up, our goal in making all of these improvements comes back to increasing ridership. As ridership increases, we'll have more flexibility to add new stops, and most importantly, to reduce the wait times between each bus. Youth ridership is a large part of that, but these changes will also positively impact all riders on both of our routes, and we're committed to increasing public awareness about what BCT is and how the system is changing to better serve the community. So thank you so much for your time, and we recommend that you receive and file this report, and we're happy to take any questions.
So there's no action the council needs to take to implement the new routes and the new buying habits?
We're here to receive feedback and your thoughts on it, and if there's a certain direction you want us to take it in, we will, but right now we feel confident in our analysis and the proposal. But we would love to hear your feedback and your thoughts on it.
So if we don't say anything, you're doing this anyway?
Yes.
Well, these items we can administratively implement. So no actions required for the council to proceed with what has been described tonight. In the future, as we procure different buses, those purchases will come before you. And as we move to implement other features, those too will be something that would be subject to your consideration. But what was described tonight, we can implement, I believe, administratively.
I appreciate the engagement with the youth and responding to it. How do you get this? Are you getting this word back to them? Via the Youth Commission?
Yes, we plan based on how we're moving forward. As soon as we get the implementation moving on our route adjustment, we'll schedule another meeting with them.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Obaji.
Thank you for these changes. They sound great. One thing I wanted to ask, I'm sure you're on top of it because you're transit pros, is are you going to try to ensure that the 109 stops at the Torrance Circle, or the Pier Circle, shortly before a 102 bus arrives there, so that the transfer time isn't very prolonged when you're going southbound, and then when you're going northbound, I guess similar opposite deal.
Yes.
102 arrives first.
So with the designing of the routes, they design it to where there's like a short wait period, but not necessarily to kind of interact at the same time.
Right.
So that's something that the contractor would meet.
Time to get off and move over.
Said that, yeah.
Okay. I support these. Also, something you might consider, Director House, since you're also in charge of the teen center and the like, is maybe collaborative social media posts by RB Teens and BCT, especially. We had some kids who were telling us that we needed more transit options to get to the teen center, but it seems like we're pretty well covered, both the stop on Ringe and Grant, but also on Artesia and McKay is a short 2-block walk. I walk that, all the time. So just a little more information, if you will, or education on that would probably go a long way.
Definitely.
But thank you for everything you're doing. You're doing a great job.
Appreciate it.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, Councilmember Waller.
Thank you, Mayor. You answered my question about the smaller buses and the school trips, because that was my one concern, is that we know that those are always full and always impacted. So as long as we can maximize that ridership, that's good. For adding Paris to your route, it's an interesting idea, but with the existing route the way it is, most of the students who would use it, I believe, are south and might want to be coming up something like Prospect. So I think it would take a bigger route adjustment than you're doing now. But if you did add Paris, that would be some interesting things to look at, be where your route would be. And I think it's a great idea, connecting North Redondo Beach to the village. Students always hang out in the village. There's a lot of students that I see there at Coffee Cartel, Pedone's, Casa Playa, going to the beach, all that stuff. So I think it really does actually enhance ridership, because that's kind of the reason I was asking about the 12-month option is summertime. It'd be great for the kids in North Redondo to say, oh, I have my pass. Let's go to the village and then the beach for the day. And hopefully, they can still buy it for $8 a month. So it's not like they can't do it. But if they have that year pass, a little less friction, and they might be more apt to come to the village, which I think is a great thing. And hopefully also it brings people from the village, my area, say, hey, look, I can get up to Artesian. I can check out some of the new things that are going on in this new revitalized Artesian Boulevard. So I think being able to have a full citywide north-south is a big enhancement. And then a question, I guess, for Director House. You talked about the TAP cards. I believe, is RBUSD, do they still have to approve that or do whatever action they needed for people with TAP cards to be able to use that?
So I think you're talking about the Metro Go Pass. Metro Go Pass, that's the item where the school district would have to encumber the cost in order to be part of that program. And to date, correct me if I'm wrong, they have not yet decided to move forward.
But we
are accepting it on our buses.
Yes, we
we're
do.
doing our part.
Currently.
And since we have students in the audience from government class, I would really love to hear some of their opinions when they come to public comment on what they think about some of these changes, because they're the target that we've got for this. So maybe we can get some extra credit by coming up and telling us what you think.
We can put a shiny star on your paper.
We'll write in spoke.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, and the other thing I was thinking as you were talking there is maybe North Redondo kids would have more accessibility to the teen center, but with this change in route.
Yeah.
From time north to south. So I view that as a good thing. Councilmember Kalajerovich.
Thank you for doing this. Thank you for engaging with the Youth Commission, because it seems like most of the riders are youth, 43%, I think you said, at peak times, or weekdays, significant amount. And this is a little bit of the chicken or the egg situation as far as funding and adding routes. We need more riders before we can add more stops. So
Absolutely.
getting more ridership from our target audience would be fantastic. And ways that we can help you do that would be great. So as you're promoting the passes or going out for that 9-month pass, if you want to notify us so that we can help push that notification out, I would be happy to do that. And then, what I have heard is a lot of our youth do know about Alcove, the mental health center, and this is even going to pass right next to the new campus that they will be building. And I appreciate that it's still on that route. It is a little, I would love to have Paris be part of that, and Adams, Adams and Paris have a more direct connection to that. But again, chicken or the egg, let's get more riders in there. Yeah. Thank you for doing this. Yes, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Castle.
I just had one quick question. Looking at the map and the adjustments you're making from coming down Harbor Drive all the way through the Torrance Boulevard Circle down to the Riviera, looking at what happened this weekend with the Kite Festival, we have a lot of special events that are coming up at the waterfront. We filled up all of our parking lots this weekend. So is there a way that Beach City Transit, I guess, could coordinate with us to provide extra services, or we could promote Beach City Transit for our special events for people to use on those occasions? Any comments? I know it's not part of the...
I was going to jump in, but I'm going to let Ty take that.
So basically, it's what Paige had said earlier. As long as it's within the route, we can do some adjustments, but it can't be considered shuttle.
Okay.
So as long as that route is continued, then we can, provide service in that area, but not the
Great for beach life.
Exactly. We have lots of events at Seaside Lagoon coming up, like Beach Life, where we're expecting, lots of attendees, not a lot of parking. But I think that this would be great to augment bicycle and walking with Ubers with Beach City Transit to provide some services from across the city.
We'll make the adjustments with the route and possibly like detours that would help, but that's still in the confinement of the route itself.
Right, like where I think it's the 109 that turns, 109 that turns off of Harbor Drive onto Catalina. That would be a great drop-off point. But I think just coordinating, making sure we have enough extra, the larger vehicles and maybe some extra buses on that route during that peak time might be helpful. And advertising it might be helpful.
Yeah, we'll need to roll it out, and we just need to be mindful of our service hours as well, because we're limited by our contract. But it sounds like we can at least increase our availability within the constraints of our contract to service those areas more effectively during those times.
All right, thank you.
Is that it? Okay, that's the last.
Motion to receive and file.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any member of the public wish to address this item? No extra credit? No extra.
Come on, you.
Okay, anyone online?
Yes, we have one. We have Grace Peng.
Go ahead, Grace.
This is Grace Peng. I live in District 5. My daughter and I take the Beach Cities 102. She took it to Redondo Union, and I take it around town. While I support having the 109 connect to the Riviera Village, I think that that's going to take extra time, and service hours and service is already not, we don't get enough service hours. We don't get very frequent service. So I was wondering, when you live in District 5 north of Artesia, you already pay a 20-minute time tax to go to the Galleria and back before you then head further south. And I know that the kids can't get on. The buses are so packed, kids can't even get on at Ringe and Artesia, and they get bus pass-ups all the time. Now, why can't we just run the bus straight and have it turn around and Riviera back and go back and forth between the K-Line station, Redondo Beach, and the Riviera Village without making the extra jog to Galleria? And then you can also run a separate, because you'll save that much time by not making that extra jog, you could then run a separate Artesia line that then goes between the Galleria to Aviation and then continues down Aviation, helping the Golden Hills kids get to Redondo Union and then turn right back around. This way, we have, I see a lot of workers at the K-Line station. They work at the restaurants at the Riviera Village, and if they, they look so tired, and they work so hard for us. Why don't we just give them a direct route to their jobs in South Redondo? Then the other thing is that your social media right now, comments are turned off, so I'm unable to ask questions. No one can interact with you because you've got comments turned off. And like the 109 suffers from really long headways because it takes these convoluted routes that goes in and out of every shopping center. And we don't need to replicate that on the 102 route just to help kids get to school, Paris or Adams. Like, for instance, Adams is only a half-mile, 10-minute flat walk from Ringe and Clark to the stop at Ringe and Clark. And so it's close enough to get kids there. And similarly, Paris is really not that far from the upper Diamond stop for Redondo Union. So I think that the kids can do that. The kids can definitely walk that. I'm also worried about replacing.
Okay, thank you. Your time is up. Any other online?
We have no other hands raised on Zoom, and we do have 2 e-comments. We have 1 in support and 1 opposed.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we had the motion to receive and file, all for?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Oh, we got 2 more. Go ahead.
All right, thank you, Mayor. I actually was listening to that point about traveling south from North Redondo or District 5. If you could show 2B, please. This is the map of the 109, right? Or 102, sorry, 102. And it does go down and then over to the right. But query, if one was to exit at Vale and Artesia Boulevard, cross the street and get to one of these stops on these 3 blocks, would they catch a new bus coming eastbound on Artesia, or would they end up waiting for that bus to go make the whole roundabout at the Galleria and come back?
It should be another bus coming the opposite way as they run.
Right. They wouldn't have to wait for this bus to go
not for
all
that
the way-
bus to go completely,
completely around the Galleria down to 182nd, back up, and then back over here.
We had a bus
No, that
every
is the
minute,
route.
then-
That
Well,
is
it's
the
really
route that goes.
How many buses are there?
Right.
Yeah,
so
it's the same bus, actually.
it would be the same.
Yeah, it
they'd
will be
end
the
up
same.
waiting for
So
the
that
same
bus goes down, goes circle around, then come back out, and then head back. Yeah, it is the same bus.
Okay, so they wouldn't save time by
No.
hopping off and getting on a different bus.
No, because of the headway, because
About
of the
30
time.
minutes?
Yeah,
Okay.
it wouldn't be. Yeah.
Okay. Got that. Thanks. That was my question.
Okay, Councilmember Barrett?
Thank you, Mayor. I did have a similar question to what was up on the screen and asked in the public comment. Have you studied the feasibility and appropriateness of bringing the 102 down Ringe and then coming straight to the Riviera Village, like maybe every other bus, or a standalone cutout bus to bring folks from the K line down to Riviera Village? Have you looked into that?
North-South Express.
The North-South Express.
I know, I guess my first concern off the top of my head is that would be bypassing the transit center, which a lot of people rely on for connections.
That is physically true.
So you kind of said like implementing like a rapid per se, or like an express bus that goes like strictly from this, like from that point to this point.
An express bus in the sense that it doesn't go east on Artesia to the transit center, but an express bus that at some point during the day, multiple times or not, is an express line north-south. Just asking if this is the first time you've heard of this.
Pilot?
Well,
we haven't looked into that particular
yeah.
Express due to, like Paige said, most people like to use trains because you can connect to different routes through Metro, G-Trans,
Yes.
Torrance, and Lawndale Beat from the transit center. And also too, if everyone can keep in mind that with our service hours that we currently have, any additional changes will exceed that at this time. So as Council Lady mentioned, the eggs, we have to get and gain more ridership, and that's the goal. So how do we gain adding more ridership to this whole system to be able to add more service, cutting the headways, purchasing more buses? It's like a domino effect.
It's a domino effect.
Yeah, I think the only way we could potentially do it, if we were to explore it as an option, would be we have to take existing times and routes, convert them to express, and just do a really good notification to those that would use it during those hours. I imagine those hours would be rush hours, so people trying to get to work and trying to get back. So we just need to find a way to assess what that impact would be to folks who do need to connect to the transit centers. If we take 2 buses in the morning, 2 in the evening, make those express, we're not necessarily adding hours, we're just adjusting perhaps critical buses during high-use hours. And I don't think we've had a chance to analyze that, but could we? I guess is the question. Okay.
Look into it.
And on that, do you have the data as to the ridership coming from the K line and, you know, how packed those are at particular hours? Do you have the data to look at?
We're actually currently collecting data for throughout all of our routes at this current time.
And the concept would be, as the council member Baji mentioned, K line down Ringe, and then instead of going east on Artesia, you continue down Ringe. Do you have the bandwidth to just kind of keep that in mind over the coming multiple months? And
absolutely.
Is that, city manager, sound like something that your staff, we're not talking about making changes, just keeping in mind, thinking about it.
It's potentially a repurposing existing resources in a more effective and efficient way, but we'd have to study it a little bit. But it's something I think we could certainly do through the course of our normal work schedule.
Okay, just an idea, not any kind of direction.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Definitely look into it.
Thanks for raising it. And our speaker.
One last, I'm not sure where those comments were turned off, but is there a way for the public to make suggestions or complaints or?
The Redondo Beach Transit page, I just checked it. We do have our comments on. So I don't know if she was referring to the city of Redondo Beach Instagram, because that may have comments off. But the RBTC page has comments on.
And also, too,
So
they
she
can always email.
I'm sorry?
They can always email. Send us.
Is there an email address on?
Yes, it's BCT.
Well, I know, but not just for people listening here, but if they go online and look, how do
Yes.
I make a suggestion?
Yes, there
That's
is.
in there?
And that hits one of their 3 inboxes.
Okay.
So somebody's always available.
Great. Okay.
The comments are, as far as I can see, the comments are not on our VCT, but I don't know that you need to turn them on, but just make it clear how somebody, maybe with a social media post, how somebody can.
Yeah.
I can't make.
Is your hand still up or did you forget?
No, I'm done.
Okay. So with that, I'll call the vote. All for?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Let's see, and that was just receive and file. So let's see, N3, this regards the Planning Commission's recommendations to the AACAP. Who's got the ball?
I think Mark's going to kick it off, and I think we've got John with us tonight as well.
All right, thank you, Mayor and City Council. Mark Weiner, Director of Community Development. I'm joined by Senior Planner John Champa. Last time he helped present before the council, he was a contract planner. This week he's actually started as a city employee, so he's working for the city now. Just wanted to introduce him. And he's been assisting with this project. So with that, I will jump into the presentation. Just a little background on this, the history of this item. On August 5th, the City Council provided guidance regarding Artesian Aviation Corridor, also referred to as ACAP. This was in relation to the land use element of the general plan update. The council directed staff to allow for a 1.5 floor area ratio for Artesian Aviation, and also to create rooftop dining standards as well as part of this effort, this revitalization effort of the ACAP. On January 6th, staff presented draft code amendments to the City Council. The City Council provided some input on that. That's outlined in the staff report. The recommendations provided by the council have been incorporated into the current draft. On February 19th, we presented the draft code amendments to the Planning Commission for review and to make recommendations to the City Council. So tonight I will be presenting those recommendations. And this is a fairly quick turnaround from when the Planning Commission last reviewed this, and that's because this is a high priority item for the City Council. And we're working within the timelines of getting the general plan land use element adopted and then heading for Article 27 votes in the fall. So that's why the quick turnaround to get this to the council following the Planning Commission meeting. I'm just going to quickly recap the development standards high level. For artesian aviation, also C2, C2 PD zones along those corridors, it would be an increase in floor area ratio from 0.6 to 1.5 as drafted, an increase in the stories allowed from 2 to 3, increase in height from 30 to 45 feet. The draft ordinance requires that the third floor be set back 5 feet from the second story. On the street-facing side, facing artesia and aviation, that's to help reduce some of the building mass. And then also there is a provision in there that would eliminate the requirement for 10% open space on lots that are 15,000 square feet or larger. There was concern as we reviewed the previous draft that by having that requirement, it would be difficult to achieve the floor area ratio of 1.5, so that's why it's been eliminated. Regarding the rooftop dining standards, the draft ordinance requires an administrative use permits in order to be able to create rooftop dining on your roof. This would be opposed to a conditional use permit, which is a different process, which I'll get into in a minute. Administrative use permit is a staff review and approval. The ordinance includes operating standards for the rooftop dining area. It allows the rooftop structures to the maximum height of 10 feet above the height of the zone. These would be unenclosed structures, with the exception of elevators, which would be allowed to meet what's necessary to comply. There's also a requirement for a 20-foot setback from residential uses. So that means the actual dining area on the roof would need to be 20 feet from a property line that abuts residential. And there are standards in there that would minimize visual and neighborhood impacts and also seek for architectural compatibility and avoid lighting impacts. So that's kind of a high-level overview of the standards for the ACAP and for rooftop dining. There's more additional details and nuance to it, and those are provided as attachments with the packet.
Before you leave that, at what point do structures on the rooftop deck essentially become a fourth story? I mean, can we differentiate that it doesn't get to that point where you've put up a pergola that's essentially a fourth story on top?
We could. So the way it's written in the ordinance currently, it indicates it's for furniture or unenclosed structures like a pergola. The only enclosed structure that's expressly allowed to be at that height or exceed the height would be for the elevator.
So they couldn't put a tarp over their pergola and then put glass walls on the pergola and essentially make it a fourth floor?
That's correct, but and we can define that a little more clearly. There's still some time to work.
I'm just asking how you differentiate that. Okay, thank you.
So getting into the Planning Commission recommendations, and these are just high-level highlights. The specific recommendations, the language is included with the packet. The Planning Commission recommended that we initiate a public outreach visioning process. This could include design charrettes and getting the public engaged to have input on these development standards that would go along with the 1.5 FAR. This could also potentially include photo simulations of the streetscape depicting what it would theoretically look like under these development standards if the corridor were to be redeveloped. The commission recommended consider treating artesia and aviation differently. They're a little different in character and perhaps should have a different allowance for height and stories for the two. Also, that the maximum development potential should not be granted automatically. It should be contingent upon certain design criteria and potentially based on desired use of the upper floors. So there is design criteria in the ordinance currently that directs how buildings should be designed. I think the commission's recommendations were to strengthen that and make it clear that in order to achieve that 45-foot height limit, certain criteria needs to be specifically met. And that could include preferred uses of the upper stories. So that's a little background on that recommendation. The preferred uses, like if
okay.
the city is seeking an office use or something along those lines. The commission also recommended that all levels above the first floor have an additional setback. As it's currently drafted, only the third story has that 5-foot setback from the street facing side. The commission had recommended the second story also have a setback, so it'd be tiered. It wasn't real clear if that was on all sides of the property, but I think the planning commission's intent was it would be on the street facing sides. Staff's one concern with this recommendation is you could end up getting a uniform look in architecture if buildings all have this kind of tiered or terrace setback requirement. So that's something to consider. Another is that the design standards should require variation in wall plan on all 3 levels of the building. Right now, as it's drafted, it's only expressly required on the storefront or the ground level, and the commission felt that it would be important that there be variation at the other levels, which I think makes sense. And then also that the front setback, which is currently in the draft set at 5 feet, that it be increased to 10 feet. And the reason being is that the sidewalks are narrow along the corridor, and to create more public space and more open space. My only concern with the 10-foot setback, having looked into it, investigated it a bit after post-planning commission meeting, Public Works does require a dedication for new builds along Artesian Aviation. There's a required sidewalk width. So that would establish the new property line, and then the setback would be from that. So it could be greater than 10 feet. So it's important to keep that in mind. And then also, I do think in terms of urban design, while in some cases it is preferred to have a building set back and have more open space, it's also important to have an urban edge where it engages the pedestrian. That's part of the pedestrian-oriented design. So staff would recommend keeping it at the 5 feet, but I did want to provide some background as to why the Planning Commission made that recommendation and what we researched after.
That 5 feet's from the sidewalk or from the curb?
The 5 feet is from the property line, so basically the edge of the sidewalk.
The inner edge of the sidewalk or the outer?
Inner.
Yes.
And what's the sidewalk width requirement?
I believe it's 7 to 8 feet.
So you'd be 12 to 13 feet back from the street?
Yes.
It's a 5-foot requirement.
Yeah, with the 5 feet, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Then with regard to the rooftop dining, the commission felt that this should also be included in the visioning process. They were supportive of the concept of this, but if we are going to open it up to receiving more public input on the overall design standards of the ACAP, the commission thought this should be included in the process. The commission also recommended that a conditional use permit be required for this type of use as opposed to the administrative use permit. A conditional use permit would require a full hearing with the planning commission in order to do rooftop dining. At the meeting with the city council last time we discussed this, it was optional, and I believe the council wanted to keep it streamlined and somewhat of a predictable and straightforward process. I think the commission's reasoning on this, their rationale is that in most cases, so with the AUP, there's also public noticing. Neighbors are going to be interested in this. They're probably going to want to be able to have some input and learn more about what's being proposed. So they felt that a more public process would be prudent in this case. So that was the commission's rationale. The commission recommended including the rooftop dining area in the allowed FAR. So in that 1.5 FAR, if somebody wanted to achieve that, it would also include the rooftop potentially if the council accepts this recommendation. I think the one benefit, and I've underlined this because it's, I think it's an important one. The article, so the 1.5 FAR allowance is what's triggering the Article 27 vote. It's increasing intensity by allowing more commercial square footage, and it's also allowing for more square footage which are the triggers. In my read, the development standards, the building envelope standards don't necessarily need to go to the vote. It's the FAR, and we can discuss that offline. But I do think if the rooftop dining is going to be separate from the FAR, that is additional square footage. It does generate more traffic. So the ordinance for rooftop dining would need to go to Article 27 vote, as I understand it. So
Well, I disagree, having written Measure DD along with Bill Brand, I disagree with that. The FAR does drive the intensity.
yeah, so that's the point. So that's what I was saying. The 1.5 FAR is what's triggering
it. Okay.
So if we incorporate this into that 1.5 FAR allowance, it would be covered under that Article 27 vote. If it's in addition to the 1.5, if you can do this in addition, yeah, it would be a separate. Sorry if I wasn't clear. So I think for that reason, the council may want to consider allowing
it. Sounds like Councilmember Castle.
So I'm sorry. So if it's included in the FAR, it's under 1.5, but if it's outside of the FAR, it's outside of the FAR. And is it a change in FAR that triggers the
development intensity?
Yeah.
So it would be a
define
plus
it as intensity.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's
okay.
Additional trips generated, so there's more commercial area, whether it's actually defined as floor area or not, just additional commercial use of the building, that would trigger more vehicle traffic trips because it would increase the occupancy of the restaurant.
And more critically, what it would force us to do is we have the basis of analysis for the 1.5 calculation as we're preparing our Article 27 impact statements, which will be a precursor to the vote. This is a standalone item separate and apart from that 1.5, meaning additive, is going to force us to do supplemental traffic analysis and its own standalone Article 27 analysis, which is going to take more time. So one of the reasons we're strongly recommending that we incorporate rooftop dining as part of the commercial floor area ratio calculation is because it now unifies that analysis, simplifies our process, allows us to get to the vote more quickly and probably more poignantly allows us to post our Article 27 impacts analysis more quickly so you can take the administrative action that's a precursor to that. If we treat this as a separate item, we're going to have to take more time to review it.
And just thinking this through, you have a building where the ground floor is commercial. It's probably, let's just say it's built to the full commercial FAR downstairs, so they just wouldn't be able to put a roof in an administratively denied because they have already built out
the
their
calc
FAR.
would be there. If the 3 stories that they built internally get to a 1.5, which as you've seen from some of the simulations, will be a challenge for most of these lots. Theoretically, they would then no longer have the opportunity to put a rooftop dining opportunity in on their project. We see that as being an unlikely limiter for most projects on Artesia.
Okay. Thank you.
I do think, one of the things, this has been going on since Councilmember Waller and I were on GPAC, and I think you were on council at that time. This has been going on a long time, so there is a point where you got to stick a fork in it and quit changing it, and get it to a vote and get it implemented. So,
Okay, and then almost done here. The other recommendation was to increase the setback of the rooftop dining from 20 to 30 feet from residential uses. I don't think the commission had a strong sentiment about this one. In staff's opinion, I believe the 20 feet would be sufficient. I think if you're at the ground level, the line of sight, you would not be able to see the activity very easily if it was set back 20 feet if you're a resident. If it's a second or third story, it's really not going to make a difference if it's 20 or 30 feet back if the neighboring residence is 2 or 3 stories. There are provisions in the ordinance that require screening from residential on that side. So I think that would be sufficient. And for that reason, 20 feet should be sufficient as well. And that also the recommendation was that the elevators be included in the allowed height. So if the allowed height is 45 feet, the elevator would not be allowed to exceed that, was the recommendation of the Planning Commission.
Could you achieve 3 stories then?
No,
Well,
shorter ones.
If it was a lower height building.
8-foot ceilings.
Because the shaft has to go above the top story.
Right.
Yes.
So that seems to be, we'd be eliminating.
You'd have to pinch this, the floor, the ceiling
it'd
height
have
in the
to be
first
10 or
floor.
8 to 10 feet
Right.
versus.
And as we noted, one of the important distinctions for successful ground floor commercial is high ceilings.
High ceiling, yeah.
We could add a standard. There's a preference that the elevator be shifted towards the middle or rear or away from the street. That way it's not as visible to the street. So that's something to consider.
Okay, thanks.
So this last slide is really just for context and informational purposes. I do want to note that we recently had an appeal project that came before the city council. It was AB 2011, a new state law was applied to it. I want to remind the council that under AB 2011 that a developer would be allowed to build housing projects on artesian aviation. These qualify as commercial corridors. Those projects will be allowed to be 45 feet in height, potentially 4 to 5 stories when you factor in density bonus, as we saw with the other project. So I think it's just important to keep in mind that as we are setting these standards and setting these limits, there are state laws that are in effect as well that would have a similar impact as to what's being
But what's the point is that if we make it too hard to do what we want them to do with the ACAP, it almost forces AB 2011.
That's what, I mean, that's what, to me, my takeaway in looking at this is you want to create as much flexibility with our commercial apparatus as possible so it can be successful financially for developers as opposed to this being effectively their exclusive option for viability.
Thank you.
And along those lines, one thing to consider, and maybe it's not, it's for a future meeting, AB 2011 applies to zones that only allow commercial. So if there was some amount of residential allowed within these zones, then AB 2011 would not apply. As it stands now, of course, the housing laws are constantly changing. But I think it's just important to have this, to be aware of this for context.
And one additive to that, if I could, we would certainly, if we were to consider that, want to receive credit for that in our housing element unit calculation. So ideally, that would be perhaps a thought process as part of the 7-cycle update when the time comes.
Yeah, I don't think we should tackle that now. We need to get.
We got a lot of things to do first.
Yeah.
Right.
So with that, the recommendations are filed and receive the report, and also consider the Planning Commission's recommendations and provide direction to the staff on those. Staff would recommend specifically, though, that the rooftop dining be included in the FAR cap, that the council take that recommendation. That concludes the presentation. I'm available for questions, and John's available as well.
Okay, thank you. That's a good synopsis. I'm going to defer heavily to council members Barrett and Obaji since this is right in your district and you've been fighting for this for years. So with that, Councilmember Barrett, your hand is up. You've got the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Mark, for working on this all the way through and coming back to us again. And appreciate the thought you put into this. I greatly appreciated the Planning Commission's input and work on this. Myself and others have spoken with planning commissioners. Want to thank them for their time. We did watch the Planning Commission meeting on this in substantial part, including the public comment that was provided. That was thoughtful. The recommendation on the FAR that you have here makes perfect sense, and the mayor spoke to that as well. Incorporate rooftop dining square footage in the FAR cap. Let's not play around with that. The discussion from the Planning Commission was stimulating. I've given it a lot of thought. A lot of thought's been put into this, what the residents want and need from a visioning standpoint. So that's been considered thoroughly. This strikes the right balance, what's been done here by our department, and it still is true to the boldness and the directive of boldness given by this council, and Councilmember Kaladerovich coined the term. On the AUP, I agree. Let's give staff flexibility on that. We can't envision every iteration of a project, and no two sites are the same. Like, we can't cookie cutter this thing. And I trust staff, and I know there's room for adjustments as needed on that. So I agree.
May I ask a question on that real quick?
Okay.
AUP, is that still appealable on something like this to the council or to the planning commission?
Yeah, it's appealable to the planning commission.
Okay.
And we do have in other sections of our code for certain uses, there's a provision that gives the director the ability to refer it. If for some unique reason, that's something else to keep in mind also.
Okay, sorry, thank you.
I'm glad you asked it. It makes the point. Safeguards are built into our process, and we'll be watching it. Time is of the essence, and I heard that again here tonight. And so I'm in favor and excited to move forward with this. So I'll make a motion to receive the report and receive the report, file the report, consider the Planning Commission's recommendations, and provide direction to staff to incorporate the rooftop dining square footage in the FAR cap calculations, and to move forward.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We still have hands up. Councilmember Obaji.
Sure, thank you, Mark, and thank you to the Planning Commission. Agree with what Councilmember Barron just said, actually. While I was at ICA, I watched the Planning Commission and had a conference call with Councilmember Barron. And we discussed the recommendations and debated some of the recommendations thoroughly. A couple of things. The Planning Commission some of the planning commissioners asked me, Zane, do the residents even know what you're proposing for Artesia Boulevard? Do they know the intensity of 1.5 FAR, 3 stories? Now, I think so. I trust that the residents know, but I too like to verify that the residents know and confirm that this is their will and their desire. And I try to blue folder this. I'm not sure for the Planning Commission, so they'd see it too. But I see the Planning Commission's role as different than the City Council's. The Planning Commission isn't elected by the district. It's appointed by the mayor, and it was appointed mainly by Mayor Brand to achieve a purpose of preserving what we have in the city, the scale, size, and revitalize parts of the city without supersizing it. My job, though, is to achieve my campaign promises, which in no small part included bringing life. I wouldn't even say revitalizing Artesia Boulevard, because I don't know that it ever had life, but bringing life to Artesia Boulevard. And that's what I've been elected to do, not once, twice, arguably 3 times in 4 years. But let's take a look at what the residents said. If you could light up 2B, please. This is a poll that was sent out right before the Planning Commission's meeting based on urgings. And here are the questions asked. Thoughts about increasing the height limit to 3 stories, 45 feet for new development on Artesia. All for it if it brings about redevelopment, 66%. No opinion, 4%. Object, 30%. And that's a total of, 100 and some odd folks. Maybe 143 or 48. Live on property adjacent commercial property to Artesia or aviation. 28% say yes, 38% say no, 34% say no, but I still don't want property taller than 2 stories. Thoughts about increasing the height to 3 stories, 45 feet for new development on aviation. 67%, all for it if it brings about redevelopment. That's how thirsty folks are for redevelopment. Okay, how bold should regulatory change on Artesia Aviation be to attract investment? Extremely bold, 35%. Very bold, 22%. Bold, 27%. That's a total of 84% wanting bold or more than bold action to bring about attract investment to Artesia Boulevard, Artesia and aviation. So this isn't just, direction of council, but it's a mandate of the public and the constituents in this city and of North Redondo particularly. And finally, a note that I want to say about AB 2011. Look, Plan A is bring about commercial redevelopment of Artesia Boulevard. When we were at ICA, Larry Cosmar gave a speech about, he was kind of called in to be a substitute speaker, and part of his talk is, commercial retail is dead. This is our experiment in whether we can bring about a commercial retail corridor to Artesia Boulevard. But it may not succeed. We sure hope it will. But if it doesn't, Plan B probably includes some residential. And we're going to need to get RENA credit for any residential that comes to Artesia. So I wouldn't want to zone residential in so that we defeat AB 2011. Who knows? Maybe the revitalization, the first vitalization of Artesia Boulevard will include a mix of residential under AB 2011 and commercial. And it would make sense that our commercial not be dwarfed by the residential allowed under AB 2011. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, that's all the hands I have up. Does any member of the public wish to address the council on this item? Looks like we've got one card. And that is Teresa Mitchell. Come on down. Hi, Teresa.
Hello. One of my favorite topics. One thing I would like to say is I know that that survey came out like literally right before the Planning Commission hearing that same said, and I think it said 166 people out of 22,000. And just speaking to my neighbors, they are not aware what the changes are, what the impacts are. A 45-foot building is a 4-story building, just what we saw on the Pearl and PCH, and that's pretty standard with construction practices. And under AB 2011, aviation would only be allowed 35 feet because it's a 78-foot corridor instead of a 100-foot corridor. But one thing I would like to recommend is that Artesia and aviation are treated differently with different profiles. They are very different lot sizes. They're 25 by 90 versus 50 by 150. It's a narrower street. It's also a curved with a lot of different elevation grades behind it. And it's single family homes with our own backyards right up to the commercial. It's not a wall, it's not a 5-foot setback, it's a private backyard space. So they are very different profiles. And then I do appreciate the rooftop dining being incorporated into the height limits and into the FAR. That is something that does have a lot of impact. We can hear each other's backyard parties in our neighborhoods. So having a rooftop dining that's higher and the sound travels farther, and it also is a lack of another area of not having privacy. So I think the Planning Commission had some very thoughtful approaches to it. I really do hope that you will incorporate the community input. At least I think the last time there's been any meaningful input on the ANCAP was in the conceptual phase in 2018 and 2019. But these are the permanent changes that are going to impact us for likely the rest of at least the next few decades. So we do have time till November to at least hold maybe 1 or 2 community meetings. So I would hope you can consider that moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to, what did you want to say something?
Yes, if I could.
Go ahead.
I just responded to that real quick. I have had 2 community meetings this year already, and a third one coming up on April 1st with Councilmember Barrett. And at my community meetings, we're not like, oh, limited to these items, and we're not going to talk about anything else. I blasted out to folks about this, over 9,000 people on my list. Folks can come and ask whatever question, challenge whatever thesis we're running with here. And, so far what I've heard is strong support for all of this. So there's ample opportunity. I don't know that having a meeting specifically just about the ACAP or Artesia in aviation is going to draw any different crowd or different response from those community meetings we're already having.
Okay, anyone else wish to address the council on this item?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Wayne Craig. Speaking on behalf of being on the Planning Commission, I thank you for considering the options we brought up, especially with the rooftop dining. That was an important consideration. As Ms. Mitchell had said too, and we mentioned in our comments, we really need to look at aviation and Artesia, it being a little bit different. And we already are defining them differently. So it might be that you may have to vote on them in that way too when it comes to a general plan vote. So just take that in consideration. There's an important consideration. And just as a side note, a couple weeks ago, I happened to go up to Norton Simon Museum up in Pasadena. Colorado Boulevard is kind of what we've been trying to pattern Artesia and aviation off of. And I don't know if you've been up there lately. I hadn't, but in a while. But going through there and looking at through the eyes of what we were talking about, it's a lot different than what initially we were looking at before the Planning Commission had reviewed that, made some changes. There's not a lot of four-story buildings on both sides. There's terrace, a lot of the things we talked about. So if you haven't gone up there in a while, take a look at it. But one of the big things we brought up, and most of the planning commissioners were bringing up about it, in some of our meetings, I had to do some crude Photoshop to show you what it kind of would look like if you were standing on the ground or looking at it from the side. And that's something I think a lot of the public doesn't really realize. And to Councilmember Abaji's point, yeah, I think a lot of people, most people you talk to do want to have the change on that. But one thing I'm hearing from, I've had a lot of clients over the years who have bought homes in Golden Hills and up and down on Artesia Boulevard, and they're having a real hard time visualizing it. And I think there's a potential, if we don't explain this carefully, if it doesn't get voted in, it'll fail. And I think you need more public buy-in you get, the better, more effective it is. We get one shot to do this right. And one thing we asked about in the Planning Commission was, can we have some kind of like AI-generated visualization of what it would look like if you're walking down the street, looking down Artesia Boulevard, looking up at aviation. That's something that people, if they see it, hey, I like it, boom, we can move on and vote for it. If we don't do that, we might risk that. So anyway, that's about all I had to say on that. Thank you, Brim. Oh, well, one other thing I wanted to say too, when we talk about the rooftop decks, there actually was a lot of discussion about having that setback in place. And so we actually were saying that we needed to have that 20, 30 feet back because we're thinking a lot about the homes on our Aviation Boulevard where you've got the hillside and elevations on both locations. The restaurant, their dining would be almost directly in people's living rooms. So that was why that was a concern. We were concerned about the setback on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the council on this item? Sheila.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Sheila Lamb, District 4. I spoke at the Planning Commission meeting regarding the proposed increase in FAR and height along Artesia Boulevard. And I want to thank the commission for the thoughtful discussion as well as staff and for recommending that the city include resident visioning sessions as part of this process. I believe that was an important step. This proposal may appear to be a technical zoning adjustment, but it is actually a decision about the future form of the entire corridor. And I do agree with Mr. Abaji that residents are willingly waiting, but eagerly waiting for this development to happen. But this is not one project. This is about what Artesia Boulevard becomes over the next generation. First, process matters. Increasing FAR and height corridor-wide changes the physical DNA of the city. Residents deserve an opportunity to weigh in before those entitlements are established. A corridor visioning process, such as a public charrette, would allow residents to see visual options, building height, step backs, and what this development pattern will actually feel like at the street level. It could be a very positive experience and support the work that the staff is doing. We are not asking whether development should occur. We are asking what kind of place we are creating. Second, cumulative impacts matter. Each policy change may seem modest on its own, but together they stack. Increased FAR, increased height, and rooftop dining allowances together function as a much taller and more intense development pattern. Understanding the cumulative build-out scenario would help everyone see Artesia, what Artesia could become if these entitlements are fully utilized. Third, consistency matters. If Artesia grows taller and more intense, the corridor should evolve with clear design standards so development occurs coherently rather than parcel by parcel. Density without design is not planning, it is simply monetization of space. I have a few seconds left. So my request is please honor the Planning Commission and the staff's recommendation for visioning sessions for Artesia Boulevard. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wish to address this item? Councilmember Obaji. Oh, is your hand still up? Or?
It was still up, but sure, I'm happy to actually ask a question.
Anyone else online?
Yes, we do have one hand raised on Zoom. Grace Peng.
Go ahead, Grace.
I have lived on the Artesia corridor since 1997, and I have been to community meetings and visioning meetings for too many decades. I am ready for bold change. I am ready for extremely bold change, and I am not afraid of tall buildings. I think 4 stories is fine. A lot of main streets have 3 or 4 stories, and my husband and I are really looking forward to rooftop dining on the 4th floor of a building that we can walk to and enjoying a few drinks and being able to walk home without worrying about a DUI. And also, I would like to congratulate the restaurants that are on Aviation that made it to the LA Times top 101 restaurants in LA County. And I would like for us to have a bus service that on Aviation south of Artesia. There was bus service when I first moved here, very sporadically, but now we have 0 bus service on Aviation so we don't have any bus service between PCH and Artesia on Aviation. And so that's why if we straighten out the 102 bus, then we can have another bus that goes down from the Galleria area to Artesian Aviation, then head south through Aviation and help Redondans support Redondo Beach restaurants. Because currently I'm taking Torrance 13 bus to Pier Avenue to dine, have drinks, and then come home without driving. And did you know that if you take the bus from Ringe and Artesia, you're on Pier Avenue in 7 minutes? Standing in front of your restaurant without worrying about parking. So when Torrance Transit added the evening buses, my husband and I found ourselves dining there a lot more often. So that's something to consider when we're designing we're going to have higher intensity of use. Rena is here, we're going to have to do it, we're going to have more people, but it can be a good thing because it can support more bus service, it can support more restaurants. And the other thing I want to say is that e-bike, I get around primarily by e-bike, and I think that if we put a bike lane on Artesia, people will use it. I know I will, because that way I'll be able to spend more money in my city and have my sales taxes support my city. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, we have Holly Osborne.
Okay, Holly.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, yes, I usually do more research than this, but I just recall someone that was on the planning commission when the Montecito was built, which is that, I think that's the tallest thing there, that's the commercial, and then 3 stories of the senior housing. And he said, if this person was on the planning commission if we had realized how tall that would have been, we never would have approved it. So I just want to ask, how tall is the Montecito? And how tall is what you're approving? And I don't want to discuss it, I just hope one of you will answer it.
We're not going to turn this into a question and answer period. I said that last time. Okay, anyone else?
Yes, we have Marcy Guillermo.
Go ahead, Marcy.
Marcy, you should be able to speak.
Okay, let's go to the next one and we'll come back. Is there another?
No, that was the last
Not.
one.
Marcy, one last chance. Okay. Tried it, failed.
Oh, and we do have one e-comment as well in support.
Okay, thank you. I just looked back through some of my notes and, those of us who are on GPAC, we heard the AACAP in September of 2019, and there were several public workshops even after that. So, I understand you want visualizations, but this has been to the public. I count at least 4 times that I found, Wayne, you say no, but I see the minutes here. So, and it's not just public meetings here in these chambers, they were public, there's televised ones or streamed ones. So, and I recall in the GPAC, we talked about it, and there was public input. So with that, we have a motion on the floor.
Okay.
You've got your hand up, I can never tell because you never put it down.
Right.
Councilmember Abaji.
All right. So on the point, when you look at the Montecito, if you can light up 2B, please. Holly, Dr. Osborne, that's a 4-story structure. It is that showing or no?
Not yet.
Not yet.
2B. That's a 4-story structure. I know folks in the audience have said 4 stories, but we are allowing only 3 stories. A person could reach 45 feet if they put high ceilings on all of the levels, including a minimum, I think, of 10 or 12 feet on the first floor.
And we're including the rooftop in the FAR.
Yes. And one thing I noted, that Councilmember Barron and I debated a little bit was Aviation Boulevard and whether it should get a lesser intensity. When you take a look at aviation, for example, this building here, it's already at 2 stories. It may, going up this is likely at, 3 stories, probably an elevator shaft there. And the question is, what is going to get this boulevard, going? And for example, this shop, right here on Ford, has been for sale and is going nowhere. Nothing is happening here. Nothing is coming in. There are residential over here on Exenti behind these properties. To what extent, Director Weiner, when these projects are being designed, will there be any sort of factoring in the approval process of surrounding neighborhoods or residences? Also, how about notification? Do we notify the neighbors, for example, within a certain period, within a certain diameter from development?
Yes, there would be public noticing within, I believe it's 100 feet or 300. Sorry, I don't know off the top of my head. But there is public noticing and there is discretion with these projects as well. And that's why the code includes design standards that the building would have to meet in order to be approved.
And I think Mark's being modest. I do think when we receive applications, we work very closely with the developer to recognize the site surroundings and to be as compatible with the neighborhood as possible. I mean, that's something we strongly encourage. At the end of the day, our code and in some cases state law may prevail over some of that sensibility, but that is always a push that we make through the design process.
And Director Weiner, you told me that you also walked Artesia Boulevard, and you know, there's some folks who are concerned about the Aviation Boulevard. There's some folks concerned about canyonization of one or both of these streets. Do you believe that we would, you know, by passing this or advancing this to putting it before the voters, that we'd essentially destine Aviation or Artesia to canyonization?
I don't, because it's a fairly wide roadway. It's 4 lanes. And the height, it's 3 stories, 45 feet's the max. Doesn't mean every building at 3 stories would achieve that. So just based on other examples in other cities, even within Redondo Beach, of where we have 3-story buildings, I don't believe this would lead to canonizing effect.
All right, thank you. So, yeah, based on that, all those factors, the fact that we've seen so many structures just sit there, not get improved, not even change hands, not sell when people have offered them for sale, while totally different things are happening just across the border on Hermosa, on Aviation. I think that we have to go very bold here, and if we start to see things we don't like, then we can always scale it back without further environmental review fairly quickly. But for the time being, I think that the checks, the noticing of surrounding neighborhoods, the opportunity to appeal to the Planning Commission, give the protections some may be concerned for the issues that some may be concerned about, and ultimately this is going to go to the residents to approve or disapprove, and I'm confident they will approve this.
Would you mind going back to the Montecito picture?
But before you do, can I ask a question about that image that you just had up?
Sorry.
Okay.
This is Aviation. If there were a new development, significant development that we're talking about here, those power poles, would those be eliminated with the new development, the power lines? How will that be addressed? Or how would it be addressed?
So right now, there's a requirement to underground the laterals that service the property. There is not a requirement that, as a condition of the project, they have to underground the utility lines in the right-of-way. And from my experience exploring this, you typically can't just do a small section. It needs to be a network of them that's broader in scope. But it's something that we could do some more research on and get back to you on that, like what tools we have, what the options in order to because I think ultimately that is part of the improved aesthetic, is looking to underground the lines.
And I just ask because as someone's going to invest millions of dollars to do this, and having a power pole like that, I think that's the bigger picture and maybe not appropriate for today. It just piqued my interest with that picture. That's it. Thank you.
That's a good point. I mean, I think that actually exemplifies, we did have a presentation about undergrounding these a couple years back. And it's just, hugely expensive to do, very difficult to get the property owners to buy in, and the city just doesn't have that kind of money to underground these. But another challenge that we have with getting investment on this boulevard, do you want to build a 2-story or 3-story development just right in front of those power lines? Maybe that's why we haven't got stuff here. Also, I might be mistaken, this part of Aviation, that might be a street other than Exenti. Exenti's further down to the right there. Right, and then back to the Montecito, Mayor.
Yeah, my one point on this is what AB 2011 could produce. Because it's up to 4 stories, we're only allowing up to 3. And my concern is if we're too stringent on the AACAP, that this is what will prevail along there, and we have no control of that. And so we've seen it, and we saw it on PCH. Nothing we could do. And so, if we don't make it juicy, I don't know the right word.
Attractive enough?
Appealing to the developers to develop the way we're asking, then this is what we'll end up with. This zoning prevents this because there won't be residential, a dominant residential development with commercial as an afterthought, which is the problem with our mixed-use zoning in a lot of places, or mixed-use development that we see at 1800 PCH and the Montecito. So with that, your hand's still up? Or?
Nope, down.
Okay. I'll call the vote. All for?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, down to city manager items. Thank you, Mark.
Just a reminder on calendaring. I mentioned a little bit last week, we do have a council meeting next Tuesday. We will be discussing mid-year budget at that, as part of that item. We will also be receiving a presentation from our community development staff on community development service and operation fees. And we may also have a scheduled hearing on a prospective preferential parking district that was proposed a while back for council consideration. So those are our, I think, 3 scheduled items thus far. We will be dark the following Tuesday and then back at it on the March 31st and in the afternoon for our scheduled strategic planning session. That's all I have.
Okay. Down to referrals to staff. Councilmember Barron.
None.
Councilmember Obaji.
Yes, one. It's a referral to the Cultural Arts Commission, to the Public Amenities Commission, to discuss and come up with a history of the LGBTQ community in Redondo Beach to help inform the Cultural Arts Commission and their selection of art for the North Redondo area.
So you want them to draft content?
To do research, Commissioner Morocco said he'd be willing to do it and work on it on a subcommittee.
Okay.
Okay. They're the Historical Commission, right? The Public Amenities.
That's in there, yeah.
Yep.
Yes, that's correct.
Cool.
Yep.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. All for?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
That's it, thanks.
Okay, Councilmember Kalajerovich.
None, thank you.
Councilmember Castle.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Councilmember Waller.
Nothing tonight.
And I have nothing, so. With that, I will take, we do not have to go back to closed session. We completed all the items there, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. Or second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All for it?
Aye.
Okay, the next meeting of the City Council will take place 4:30 p.m. for closed session and 6 p.m. for open session on March 17th, right here in City Hall. Thank you. Kids, you want to come up and